Here's a quick example of what we're up against. Back in December, Schwarzenegger announced that in order to save some money, he was going to furlough state employees 2 days a month beginning in February. The controller, John Chiang, agreed and said his department would go along and implement this. That was December.
Schwarzenegger and Chiang have been sued by the unions over this, and now Chiang has done a flip and said, I agree with the unions after all.
And it turns out that 2 unions involved in the suit against the governor and the controller have contributed nearly $30,000 to Chiang's campaign account since 2006. So a little turnaround by this guy in just the last month or so. I imagine he got collared by some union people who said, you know what? We're going to sink you next time you run in the primary.
Let's put his name up and phone numbers up on the website and email.
John Chiang.
John Chiang is a prostitute. He's a whore. In his legal opinion, Schwarzenegger could force the furloughs on the workers, and then after the unions reminded him that they gave him $28,000, and without that $28,000, he wouldn't be controller, he suddenly changed his mind. He's a defendant in a lawsuit filed by the unions, and now he's publicly agreeing with the unions. He's a whore and a prostitute. Both of those.
Over the holidays, he went on a trip to Texas with his family, had a mild heart attack. Maybe he was lying there and saying, I got to come to Jesus here. I got to go with the unions.
Because the unions are calling up and screaming at him.
Yeah,
because he wants to be controller, and then, maybe next election he wants to be treasurer, and then he wants to be attorney general, or lieutenant governor, or insurance commissioner, or governor. The first, I'm assuming he's Asian. He wants to be probably the first Asian American governor. That's his dream. Chinese. And he knows he's got to have these unions shoveling all the bribe money at him. So suddenly he comes out and says, I think Schwarzenegger's right. I think these furloughs could be approved. And then they start bombarding him with phone calls and pressure and saying, you know what, next election, you get no money from us. We're going to fund an opponent in the primary. And now he's lying there at Christmas time having a heart attack over it. Then after the heart attack, he wakes up and goes, you know what, I better do what the unions tell me or my political career is over.
Future's done with. Somebody has to stand up to these unions and say, you got 2 choices here. We're going to lay people off, or you got to take this 10% pay cut. Instead, they file a suit, they get the controller to stand by, and we can't even get a 9% salary rollback.
Yeah.
When what's happening in the private sector, what's happening with this company? We lost 9% of the staff nationwide. So, it's happening in all private enterprise.